What's up, guys? Jake B5 here. So today we're going to be doing kind of a review on and user experience on the Tiptronic transmission. So basically, does it suck and is it trash like everyone hates it out to be? Short answer, yes, it kind of is. And then long answer is kind of depends on how you want to use it and the actual situation. But so overall, it's okay. That's pretty much the short answer, is that it's okay. The main issue with it is it just shifts really slowly. It's not quick at all. In manual mode, you'll hit the downshift like this, and then it goes. That, and then it goes. It takes way too long to shift, and that's the main issue, is that it's slow. But overall, I mean, in manual mode, it's actually pretty nice. So I have mine coded for the sport trends, or the sport version, which I'm pretty sure just allows you to go into first gear while you're in manual mode and while you're going slow enough. And it might make it a little quicker to shift. I don't know exactly. But in manual mode, it does hold gears. So if you're in second, it will hold second until you go to 7,000 RPM, which is the red line. It will never shift out of second if you want it to be in second, which is really nice. And it doesn't, like, if you leave it in manual mode and you're just cruising, it doesn't automatically go back to automatic mode if you don't use it. So that, honestly, that aspect is really nice, and I found myself a lot just driving around town in automatic mode, or when I'm just chilling. And then when I'm going through some back roads and stuff like that, so when I'm going through back roads and stuff like that, I'll keep it in manual mode and be like second and third gear, and it's great. It feels really nice, and yes, it's slow and it's not as fun, but it does give you the power when you want it in your manual mode. And for the automatic mode, it's okay. It's more towards a lighter driving style. So if you drive not as aggressively, it's perfectly fine and it's pretty decent. But if you're matting it to the floor every once in a while, or a lot, you'll definitely notice how slow it is. But so for the pedal, you have wide open throttle, and then you have a little button at the bottom of it. So you have a button that basically downshifts for you, and then that will, let's say if you're on the highway or on a road, let's say 50 mile per hour speed limit, and you want to pass someone and you floor it, it will like floor it and hit the button at the bottom. It will automatically downshift the car into the lowest gear that it can to give you the most acceleration. So that part's pretty nice, but it is pretty dang slow. And I'll show you exactly how slow it is in a second, but overall it's okay. It is annoying how slow it is. Like my brother's 2010 Mazda 3 shifts quicker than this, and that's not even a sports car. That's literally just an economy car. And I found myself, because I was driving that for a while, and I found myself downshifting in it because I was just messing around. And then I go into this, and you can, but it's not as fun because the shifts aren't as quick. So it's like you shift, you gotta wait for a second to kick in, and then you shift, wait a second for it to kick in, and then you shift again, or downshift. and it's possible. It's just not as fun. But I mean, yeah. Another downside to the automatic is that it can't handle as much power. So a lot of people who have the automatics that want to go stage 3, they usually will use the automatic until it blows. And I've heard it handles 400 to 500 horsepower or torque. So it definitely is fine for anything except for stage 3 power. And then stage 3 power, you do have a chance of it potentially blowing up, and then you'll have to do the manual swap or replace it with a new automatic, which I don't know why you would do that. So another thing that I don't like at all about the Tiptronic is it's ugly. The shifter is really ugly. It's a bright chrome, and it just doesn't look good at all. And that's unfortunately pretty much all early style Audi automatics have this really ugly shifter, and it just doesn't look good at all. Another thing that sucks about it is it's massive. So like if you got downpipes, you would have to get Tiptronic specific downpipes if you were keeping the automatic. And I don't know if it's possible to change the downpipes without taking the transmission out or the engine, just because it's so big. It's definitely possible. I just haven't seen anyone actually do it because not a ton of people have the automatics or that modify them. But yeah, I mean, functionality wise, it's good. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do, is automatically shift gears. You do have 3 sections, so you can keep it in second gear, keep it in third, and keep it in fourth. So if you need to like get a lot of torque and you want it to 100% leave in second gear, you can. And overall, the coating, where the throttle is and stuff like that when you're just cruising around in automatic mode, it's honestly not that bad. I mean, it is slow, especially kick down if you floor it from just cruising. But I mean, that's what you're gonna get. It's not terrible, but it's obviously not the best. And I've driven a couple DSG cars, and it's, oh my god, DSG is so nice. It's so much more different than this. So I'll show you guys how slow the shift times are and stuff like that right now. Okay, so we're in manual mode right now. So if I press, then it shifts. So you can see press, and then it shifts. And then upshift. It's pretty slow. I mean, it's not horrendous, and like, you do get used to it when you first get driving, but after like driving a manual car, you're like, oh my god. Or like anything that shifts quicker than this, you're like, I'm missing out on a bunch. And it's crazy. So here, I'll do a nice pull. So it's pretty bad, but it's also not like, it's not insanely terrible. So I'll show you just automatic mode. Let's see. So it does a good job. It does a good job at handling and predicting what gear you want, and selecting that gear when you're pretty much anything except for wide open throttle, and that's nice. And then if I I'll wait for a nice straight before I actually floor it. But and then if you do wide open throttle with pressing the button at the bottom, on the throttle, for it to downshift, it takes a long time. And especially if you're doing roll racing and stuff like that on the highway, usually you got to go on like, if you're doing like 3, 2, 1 go, you gotta go on 1 or 2 in order to properly be fully in the right gear before like they go. Let's see, I think, am I taking the right road? I have no idea. So I'll just be cruising. So on go, I'm gonna floor it, and then you'll see how long it takes to kick down. I don't know how well it will portray in the video, but 3, 2, 1, go. So it is very noticeable, especially when you floor it. So just for an example, let me wait for it to straighten out. If you floor it without pressing the button, it will, like, let's say if you're going kind of slow and you could be in first gear, if you go wide open throttle, it will go into second and it will stay in second. Whereas if you're going that speed and you floor it while pressing the button, it will shift into first. So you'll get a little bit more acceleration, but also a slower lag time for the downshift. So let's see. So here's one open throttle without pressing the button. So there's that, and then wide open throttle pressing the button. So there definitely is a noticeable lag. And again, you gotta actually try it to see how bad it is in person. So overall, I mean, it's honestly not that bad, other than the shift times. It's bearable, but it's not as fun as a manual at all. Especially in this car, nothing's gonna beat having a manual. And the newer ones, DSGs are amazing. They're super fun. Like my family has a DSG 2013 D8.5 S5, and that thing is a blast to drive. But with this, it's just so slow. You can get so much more power with a manual, and it's a lot more enjoyable. And the manual swap honestly isn't that bad. Which, speaking of which, at the time of recording, I have ordered all of the parts that I need for the manual swap, including the clutch, the flywheel, and a bunch of maintenance stuff. So that's coming in next week, and I'll probably do that, and then I'm gonna make a ton of videos on it. But it's honestly not that complicated, and the hardest part is you do have to, because the transmission is so big, you really have to pull the engine in order to change it. You can't just take the engine out, or take the transmission out without the engine, which kind of sucks, but it's allowing me to do a bunch of maintenance and cleanup and stuff like that, which is nice. But overall, I would say, is it worth? Because this car, I found, before I bought this, I found a listing of this same exact car, Santa in blue, 125,000 miles, this same color interior, but 6-speed manual, and it was for sale for $8,000. I bought this car for $4,000. Is it worth the $4,000 difference? I think it depends. If this is going to be, if this is going to be a car that you're going to lightly modify, maybe a daily driver, cruise around, nothing major, honestly, yes, it's worth it. But you're not going to enjoy driving it as much. Now, if it's a car you want to make big power, and you have a great technical knowledge and great mechanical skills, and you have the skill to do a manual swap and the tools, then I say honestly it's worth it, because you can, instead of spending that $4,000 right there and then, you can wait and you can spend that $4,000, because depending on how much performance and maintenance you're gonna do, if you do the manual swap, you're looking at $4,000 to $5,000, depending on how much you're willing to spend. So honestly, I say it's worth it. You can deal with the Tiptronic until you get enough money to do the manual swap. Of course, it is more work, but if you don't want to do the work, or want to make big power, and you don't want to do a manual swap, then I would buy the manual. But for $4,000, I'm happy I bought this car in automatic. And overall, I mean, I think it's okay. That's kind of the best way to put it, is it's okay. For cruising and stuff like that, it's perfectly fine, but it's not going to be good for performance. I know quarter mile time, it's at least a second quicker. It's around a second quicker between the manual and the automatic. And that kind of says it right there, is that if you want your car to be as fast as possible, get a manual, and most enjoyable, get a manual. If you just want it to be kind of chill, just cruising around and stuff like that, then do the automatic, because it's not that bad. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. If you enjoyed, if you have any questions about the automatic, about the manual swap, literally anything, comment down below, and I'll talk to you guys later. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.